Easy come, easy go. I had that great award. It is an honor and a privilege to introduce the Assistant Administrator of NextGen for the FAA. His office is responsible for leading the modernization of our national airspace with the next generation of air transportation systems. He joined the FAA in September of 2013 after a career with the U.S. Air Force, retiring with the rank of Major General. Brothers and sisters, invited guests, please give a warm welcome to General Ed Bolton.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. First, thank you, Paul. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, and Trish Gilbert for your leadership. Thank you all out there. I can see you. Can you see me? Thank you for what you're doing. You know, we have the largest, most complex, most diverse, right? And the safest air transportation system in the world. Best there ever has been, and maybe the best there ever will be if we do the right thing. So we want to start by thanking the people to make that possible, and I very much appreciate that. So I was asked, I asked Trish Gilbert last night, I said, what would you like me to talk about? And she said, talk about NextGen. So I'm going to talk about NextGen, talk a little bit about some of the successes and the collaborations that we've had. But I also would like to, if you'll permit me, Paul said the other day on Monday that we have to have hard and tough conversations and be honest and upfront with each other. So I'd like to talk about some of the difficult and hard challenges that we have to face. Are you up to that today? Controllers, straightforward. I figured you were. So let's start with a story. Now, of course, a preamble first. I asked someone the other day, how long did it take to get through controller training? And they said about 18 months. And how long did it take to be a good controller? They said about 3 years. I've been in this job almost 18 months. So I don't know very much, but I can share what I've learned, what I've seen. So 17 months ago, it was my first day in this job. My first evening, I went to a dinner. Actually, I met Paul. I sat across from Paul at dinner. I went to a NAC meeting. And it opened up with Nick Callio talking about NextGen. And he literally just ripped into us. The FAA can't do anything right. We won't make commitments and keep them. The program's delayed. There's all kinds of problems, and our breath stinks. He introduced Congressman Frank Lobiondo, who said, Nick Callio's right. And of course, this is my first day in the job. I actually hadn't been to work yet. It was just a dinner, and I thought, this is great. This is a great opportunity because we can't go anywhere but up. So in that intervening time, I would like to argue, because of the tremendous work that's been done, not by me, of course, a large piece of credit goes to the ATO run by Terry Briscoe, who's out here today. A large piece of credit goes to really this organization because, again, I think that you get work done by collaborating with people who have to actually operate the system. And it's really about that teamwork. And so in the intervening 18 months, several things have happened. First of all, you've heard folks say that the infrastructure is largely complete. A couple words on that. ERAM, we're pretty sure that Terry's going to break the glass over the head of the ERAM, and the final 20th of the 20th sites will hit ORD this month. We're pretty sure, which will mean you have a contiguous across the United States, the national ERAM system, the central nervous system, the backbone of NextGen. And that gives a significant, that is the beginning of changing the work environment for air traffic controllers. The other foundational program, Tamer, right? That work continues. You have 55 locations that already have stars that are going to be refreshed over the next few years, and then another 108. They're going to be completed in the 2017-2019 timeframe. So you have an infrastructure that is largely complete now, and will be fully complete by 2020. And again, that changes the environment of people to do the work, much of you. But it turns out that the execution of those programmatic milestones is not what the American people are looking for. They're looking for benefits on the opposite end. And so in the 18 months, let's talk about what we've done together to put ourselves in a position for the NextGen program to show benefits in a 1 to 3 year time frame. The assistant administrator, less than a year ago, went to the NextGen Advisory Committee. Paul is a charter member of that, is your representative on that committee. Margaret has a leadership role. Terry's on that. Lynn Ray. And asked them to take a look at all the NextGen programs that were working and prioritize them. And they came up with several priorities: performance-based navigation, a surface, multiple runway ops, and datacom. And we spent about 6 months. Terry and I did deep dives at least once a week for multiple hours. 4 teams, 1 for each of those areas, each with NATCA representation. And over those 6 months, these teams built an implementation plan that has milestones, specific locations, specific metrics, specific costs, and a specific timeline to say what we're going to do to provide benefits as a result of working in these areas in the 1 to 3 year time frame. That report was completed on October the 17th. Terry, John Hickey, and I signed that. That's on our website. So if anyone asks you, we always want something to stand up here. If anyone asks you how we're doing with NextGen, direct them to our website. It shows the commitments that we've made, and I will tell you, as of today, as of the end of this month, we'll be 14 for 14 of the commitments we made to give benefits in the 1 to 3 year time frame of actually delivering milestones to specific locations. In addition, we did something else that something else we weren't asked to do. We also put together a specific plan that shows how we would work together as a team, NATCA, FAA, industry stakeholders, to oversee that work. Right? What meetings we're going to have, who is going to be involved, and what we would do. And so that's something that you can be proud of. But I think most importantly, we wanted you to know that the infrastructure is largely complete, and that's goodness. We're executing milestones, and that's goodness. But as a former engineer, I can say something that surprised me. It turns out the American people don't really care about the execution of milestones. They care about capabilities and benefits. And we're giving you those capabilities and benefits today. Let's take performance-based navigation. We've got North Texas. We've got Houston, where Trish Gilbert got her start. 61 and 80 new procedures that were being developed. Is there anyone here involved in the writing of those procedures from North Texas or Houston? Anyone here? Raise your hand if you're a part of that. Anyone at all? Anyone at all? We also have 3 OPDs, optimized profile descents, that will be in use in Washington, D.C. So among just these 3 things, and when people ask you about benefits, you can say that as a result of the Metroplex in these 2 areas and the OPDs, we're saving 9.6 million gallons of fuel a year. And that can be extrapolated to a savings of over 97,000 metric tons of CO2 emissions a year. That's making the world safer and better as a result of NextGen. And that's just in one area. Let's take multiple runway ops. We've done multiple runway ops. We did it in Atlanta. We've done it in Memphis. We've done it in Louisville. We've done it in Cincinnati. And all in total, we're going to end up doing 16 different sites. In Atlanta alone, Paul, Terry, Lynn, and I got a briefing from Delta saying that they can add an additional 6 departures and or arrivals every hour in any conditions. They can save 1 to 2 minutes of taxiing time per flight. Millions of dollars a year of savings, tens of thousands of minutes of savings of wait time. In Louisville, we're told that they're saving 52,000 gallons of fuel every night. That's real savings. And so if you take the 14 metroplexes we're doing and extrapolate the benefits you've gotten from the ones we've completed to the 14, and take the 16 wake recat locations that we're doing and extrapolate the benefits you've got from the 5, you can tell people what NextGen is doing for you now. So let's get the word out. Let's tell folks. Let's be proud of the work that we're doing together, right? So when we say NextGen is now, we don't mean now next year. We don't mean now 5 years from now. We mean now today. And thanks to you. Thanks to you. We also want to talk just a little bit, about what NextGen is going to be doing in the future. In the surface area, and I got an update just a little bit ago, Terry's team is working very hard to give you electronic flight strips and surface viewers. We've got surface viewer in Phoenix, which I've seen myself. We're bringing electronic flight strips to Cleveland. We're planning, Terry's team is planning on putting electric flight strips in the Newark area, probably Newark, so that we can bring the next generation of capabilities to the air traffic controllers who do the real work. And so we have a great number of things to be proud of. But again, why is it important? Why is it a big deal? I mean, right? You've got making the work environment much better for air traffic controllers, the people who do the work. You've got the benefits of less wait time. You've got the benefits of greater throughput and capability. Why is that important? If you were to take a look at NextGen Now, who's seen NextGen Now, the document that's put out by your organization every quarter on NextGen? Who's seen that? Raise your hand if you've seen that. Paul's seen it, just a few in the front. I commend you to that document. It is an outstanding summary of everything the NextGen program is doing. It talks specifically about which air traffic controllers are doing what. It's printed in English, even I can understand it. So does anyone know how many passengers you moved safely through the air, over the air in 2014? Anyone know? Anyone want to guess? How many? And it's in the millions. Anyone want to know? That's closest. It's in your book. Guys, you got to do the readings. Work with me. 743 million. So if you are 35 years old and under, would you raise your hand, please? 35 years old and under. Paul, you're lying. Thank you very much. I feel pretty old, I tell you what. So there's a tipping point, right? If you can't be a controller if you're 56 years old or 57 years old. So if you're 35 years old, that means if you stay in this business, you'll be a controller 20 years from now. And so, the first speaker talked about talking to 80%. I'm talking to the 40% of you that are going to be controlling for 20 years, that are going to be keeping me safe when I'm flying to my retirement home in Florida 15, 20 years from now. 743 million in 2014. How many do you think 20 years from now? How many do you think? Someone did the reading. 1.5 billion. So here's the news for you, and you can decide whether it's good news or bad news. I think it's good news. Right? It's 12 million jobs in the economy. It's 743 million passengers. In 20 years, we have to figure out a way to put twice as many people through the air safely or fail. And there's no other option. I can't think of one, right? Twice as many. Now, I don't know how many airplanes that is, right? I don't know how many airlines that is. I certainly know there's a lot less airlines now than there was 20 years ago. But I know half of the people in this room and 15,000 others like you are going to be the ones to make it happen. And you will not be able to do it unless we collaborate and work as a team and have those tough conversations. Set milestones. Make commitments. Do the hard work. Learn this stuff. Advocate for this stuff. If we don't do that, we won't be successful. If we don't do that, then we won't be the biggest, the most diverse, most complex, and safest air traffic control system the world has ever known. We won't be adding $1.5 trillion to the economy. And we'll be in trouble. And we'll be in trouble. So as I close, let me just thank you again for the opportunity to talk a little bit about NextGen. Last year I called it our gen. I'm going to say it's your gen because, frankly, those of us in the front are a lot closer to the end of the runway than you are. And so I commit to you, Terry, Paul, Trish, John, we'll do everything we can to stay focused and determined to get this thing through. Everything we can. Frankly, I don't know how to be any more focused. Right? And we'll have those tough conversations, and we'll fight for you on the Hill, right? With stakeholders and in halls of the FAA to get this done. At the end of this, it's going to be up to you to make this happen. We're just here to help. I thank you for your time and attention today, not just for listening today, but for volunteering to serve your country as air traffic controllers. I couldn't be part of this team. Thank you all. God bless you, and I'll take questions on any topic at this time. Thank you. Thank you.
Questions? Do we have any questions?
The question is, I do movie reviews, I do music. Big fan of The Voice and American Idol.
Okay, we got one right here in the middle.
You got one question?
Can you identify your name and facility when you ask a question?
Brandon Boyd in Richmond, Virginia. I'm actually just curious, with the $1.5 billion in 20 years, how exactly do you believe that that's going to get there? Are we talking larger planes, more planes in the air? And do you think that with more planes in the air and the next gen that's happening, that human factors need to be, I guess, a little more concise by not necessarily reducing the ability to control?
That's about 4 questions in there. So, right? So as for where the 1.5 came from, it came from Trish Gilbert. It's on page 2 of the product she puts out.
NextGen Now.
NextGen Now. It's an outstanding product. I think where I think your question is getting at is the relationship between automation and air traffic control and changes in technology. And so I'm going to reveal a secret if you promise not to tell anyone. All right, so here's my secret plan, right? There's a Chinese proverb that says the journey of 1,000 miles begins with 1 step. And so Terry and I have actually talked about this quite a bit. We really believe that if you focused the FAA on some achievable near-term milestones and got those milestones in place, it changed the whole world. And so what we're trying to do is deliver as many benefits as we can with the technology that we have in place, with things that we really understand, like Wake Recat, performance-based navigation, while the infrastructure is being completed underneath. The infrastructure, at some point, and again, God forbid I'm not a controller, God forbid I tell a controller what to do, right? Right? But I am hopeful that when you have this full infrastructure in place, it's going to change how you handle traffic in ways that puts you off a tipping point that significantly enables significantly more traffic. And I think that you'll find, and I was in the space business in the Air Force, and so I was an operator in that business when I wasn't an engineer program manager. I think you'll learn some things about the system once you get it in place that you cannot understand until you get it fully automated. And if you make an analogous to a national, let's say, railway system, if you're going to get past the tipping point, to steal a phrase from Bruce DeClean, where if you have it in 10 states, it's not really a national system. But if you have it in 50 states, then, right, you only have to have one set of training, right? You only have to have one set of procedures. You can significantly reduce the infrastructure, right? And then you can really focus and get benefits that you can't. But while we're doing that, because most folks don't have the patience to wait that long, we're focusing on benefits in the near time frame, and that will be enabled in the second wave, I think. And so the bottom line is that we're trying to show benefits now, focus on today while tomorrow is being enabled. And smarter people will be here by then to make that happen. So that's not the best answer in the world, but it's the best I got. I hope that's helpful. Sir?
Bob Stam, Raytheon Company. Interested in your thoughts on the activities currently underway at some of your next-gen test beds this year and in the near-term years, 1 or 2 years from now. In particular, we're interested in work at the Florida next-gen test bed. Just your thoughts, be interested in.
Well, I'm pretty impressed by it. I was at the Mini Global Swim, a system-wide information management system, a few months ago with some of you guys down there. So I think the test bed is an opportunity to prove out capabilities prior to their deployment. I think the key thing is, like I said, if there's one lesson learned, and bringing up a sore subject, ERAM, right? One lesson learned, ERAM, $380 million, 3-year, 8-month slip. And to put it in direct terms, because previous folks who had leadership jobs in the FAA didn't think it was important to have the controllers in the union involved in the development and testing of the system. So when they tried to deliver it, they found out it wouldn't work. So the test beds help us prevent these kinds of problems. But the real answer is inclusiveness and collaboration. And again, where I come from, collaboration is kind of a Washington word. You can just call it teamwork. Sir?
Hi, I'm Dan Kerr from the Command Center. On Monday, there was a GAO report that was released, and in that report, it cited problems with the Federal Aviation Administration cybersecurity are threatening the agency's ability to ensure the safe and uninterrupted operation of the National Airspace System. Do you have any comments on that report?
I haven't seen that specific report. Cyber is a concern. One of the things that we've done in the time I've been here is that the office that used to be the JPO is now the IPO, and it's part of the NextGen team. And you're doing a significant amount of cyber security analysis and work with DoD, who's kind of the gold standard. I mean, we're the gold standard when it comes to aviation safety. DoD is the gold standard when it comes to cyber research. And so we're pedaling as fast as we can to get at this problem. So yes, we have some concerns, but we're getting after it in a reasonable time frame. I mean, it's one upside of having 70s, 80s era technology is that they're not really vulnerable to cyber, particularly. I mean, that's the one upside. But we're pedaling hard, and we hope to get there. I don't see any other questions prepared. This says I'm over time. Ma'am, back to you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ed. We appreciate it.